I mean, apart from that incident, you've had some amazing incidents through your career. What about drivers? Do you trust other drivers, some drivers more than others? Nobody here is going to tell any tales out of school, so you can say.
It wouldn't be like me to tell any tales either.
But you've had some pretty epic battles with drivers over the years, and some have turned out well for you. Some have not turned out quite so well. Good battery.
Do you have one in your mind specifically, Bob?
No, I don't. I won't say anything.
I thought I could sense where you might have been going with this.
You're the one that's doing the talking. You choose. But good, bad, or indifferent. Which ones?
Yeah, you're right. There's been some fantastic battles and raced against some fantastic drivers, no doubt. And one of them I'm teaming up with at Bathurst and at Phillip Island too next week and with Bathurst with Mark Scaife, which I have a lot of respect for Mark. He has been a fierce competitor, and we certainly haven't always seen eye to eye. We've had our fair share of battles on the track, and our personalities have battled each other occasionally as well. But he's certainly always been a guy that you knew that you could race against fair and square all day long. And if something went wrong, you know it's not intentional. And I don't know if I've really ever raced with anyone that's ever done anything that was... It's hard to imagine that someone does something intentional. So, but, there's guys that you certainly trust and you don't have to look in your mirror. And then there's guys that you tend to sort of want to know exactly what they're doing because they seem to be a little bit more erratic. But Mark was one that was always fully professional, and you knew you were going to have a good battle regardless with someone like him. So and to have him join up with us for these endurance races is something that I'm really, really looking forward to, because we've been in the same team back in 97, 98 at HRT. It was the only time we were in the same team together, but we never drove together. And I've been very fortunate to have some fantastic teammates in the Enduros since I started racing in supercars in Australia, and thankfully I'm still adding them to the list, which is great. So I suppose the fairly famous guy that I've had a few run-ins with would be my old mate Marcus.
I was coming to Marcus.
Yeah, I knew you were. That's why I
was
decided to bring it up.
leading up to Marcus.
Who's found an amazing niche in America. He's doing an amazing job. We have very little respect personality-wise for each other, but I certainly have a lot of respect for his ability and for what he's doing in America at the moment is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal.
He's just earned, so far, and 2/3 of the way through the season, his earnings are $3 million US. Now, he's not going to get that, I know. The team gets all that.
Yeah, it's an amazing amount of prize money.
It's not a bad career over there.
Oh, listen, NASCAR is just incredible. It's an amazing sport. I have never been a real big fan of it, but...
Would you try it?
Oh, probably a bit late for me to try it, but I mean, of course...
You see some of those guys like Mark Martin, they're 85 years old if they're a day.
And still winning races. Listen, it's an amazing thing. It's something, as I say, never was a big focus of mine or something I really followed a lot, because it was a form of motorsport that didn't click with me. But it's fantastic to see that someone from our championship has gone over and done that. But we had our plenty of run-ins. We certainly didn't see eye to eye, and it culminated obviously on the hill at Bathurst in 2005 with a horrific ending. Which
funny how they always seem to catch you on camera when you're doing that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Do the cameras follow you?
I think they know.
Your reputation is firm but fair, or a hard.
There's always someone in the OB truck going, right, that's your job to just watch Murph the entire time.
That's
now,
right,
if you see looks like he's going to do anything, just tell us. And we'll
if it starts getting boring, follow Murph, because something will happen.
Yeah, so that was a really unfortunate day at the office, and two guys, very strong-willed and determined, and neither of us were going to win that race that day. We were probably, at best, one of us had the chance probably finishing on the podium, but it was one of those scenarios where he wasn't going to give in, and I certainly wasn't going to give in, and it was we were either both going to get around that corner or the resulting incident was going to occur. And the worst thing about it is when you got two blokes that are having a battle like that, but it drags in another half dozen with you, and that's not good. But I think he was under it was fairly certain in his mind by the time we'd finished up the top there what I thought of where he should probably go, and he did, which is fairly interesting. I think it was already planned though. So I've had my fair share of run-ins, and but I'm passionate about what I do, and I don't like I don't like it when it doesn't go my way.
Well, you are a hard racing driver, and that's because that's what you want to do. But, okay, we've done Scaife and Ambrose. There's a lot of other guys you've driven with. You could say that they were the good and the bad. What about the indifferent? There must have been a lot of very average drivers that really got in your way. Not only your way, but other drivers out there.
There has been, but the championship's changed so much as well. I mean, I think at the moment we've got 28 cars in the field, and the quality of the equipment and the driver has never been as good as what it is now. So, we went through periods. I mean, when I started in V8s back in '95, the endurance racers always bought out all the cars sitting around the countryside that only did 2 races a year, and so the field grew from 18 to 20 up to 40 odd cars or more. And obviously you were then presented with the problems with these guys that turned up for 2 races a season. Well, that's all changed. You can't just turn up at any race you decide to now. I mean, in '97 when I was racing for Holden Racing Team, the field varied during the championship from 16 to like 28 cars, so it was all over the place. And realistically, you had 4 or 5 that you had to watch out for every weekend. Other than that, you knew that you were good. And I remember in '97, I qualified on the front row of the grid that year, 8 out of 10 races. So you knew I was in one of the best cars in the field. So you didn't have too much to worry about. You had 2 or 3 cars you had to worry about, and the rest of them, just weren't a problem. Well, now, there's 28 cars in there, and on a regular occurrence at most circuits, we qualify the top 20 cars, well within a second. Most of the time, the field is covered by a second. I forgot Queensland, but Sandown a few weeks ago, the top 10 cars were covered by less than 2/10 of a second in qualifying. 2/10. I mean, the competition's changed so much. So the quality of the driver is really, really good, and the quality of the cars is really good. So, not like it used to be. So, there was guys, who were driving in the championship because Dad provided the money, and they thought it was something to do. Whereas the rest of us were actually trying to make a career out of it. Yeah. And there is lots of examples of that. I mean, to be honest, I struggle to even come up with the names. But I know at the time when you're driving around, you're going, well, what the hell are you doing here? What the hell are you doing here? What the hell are you doing here? The field was made up of well over 50% of people that were doing it because they could, not because they were trying to achieve or had goals and winning championships. It was just, hey, it's a bit of fun and we can afford to do it.
It's pretty much the same in many forms of racing as well, isn't it?
It is, and it's spoiled, absolutely. But I think at the moment our championship is actually full of extremely competent drivers and extremely good cars, and it is just the strongest it's ever been. And it sounds ridiculous because I say it every year, but it currently is. It doesn't take much to be that little bit off the pace, and the boys tell you on the radio, listen, you need to find a 10th, and that'll take you from 20th to 9th. On the grid, and you're like, do you know how hard it is to find a 10th of a second?
I love it in Formula One when they say you've got to start pushing now.
You start pushing.
Whatever you think I've been doing for 30 laps.
I've just been driving around my arm on the windowsill for the last hour and a half.